was supposed to be a regular evening in Seoul, the kind of evening where the city hums softly in the background, lights flickering through the streets, and the world seems to move just a little slower. But for Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun, that night was about to become unforgettable. It was a night carefully planned by someone who knew exactly what would make her heart soar, a night that would be etched into their memories forever. Lee Min-ho had been quietly plotting for days. It wasn't an extravagant plan, it wasn't about flashy gestures or public displays. He wanted it to be personal, intimate, thoughtful. Something that would show Kim Go-eun without words just how much he cared. He remembered the way she often looked at the city skyline from her balcony, the way her eyes would light up when she talked about simple joys, and the way she laughed at small, sweet moments. He wanted this night to be entirely about her. The evening began quietly. Kim Go-eun had no idea where they were going. She thought they were simply going out for dinner, a normal evening together. But when he arrived at her apartment, there was a sense of excitement in his eyes that made her suspicious, yet curious. He held her hand, and as they walked to the car, he whispered softly, "Trust me. Tonight will be special." She smiled, letting him lead her, feeling a warmth spread through her chest that she couldn't quite explain. The drive itself was calm and serene. Seoul's night traffic glimmered under the streetlights, and the city's rhythm felt slower than usual. Min-ho didn't speak much, but he didn't need to. There was a quiet intimacy in the silence, an unspoken understanding between them that made every moment feel like it belonged only to them. Every now and then, she'd glance at him and notice the small details, the gentle squeeze of her hand, the subtle smile tugging at his lips, the way his eyes softened when they met hers. It was already clear to her that this night would be unlike any other. After a while, they arrived at a secluded spot just outside the city. It wasn't a well-known resort or a crowded tourist attraction. It was a small, charming and nestled by a quiet river, surrounded by trees and the soft glow of lanterns hanging from the branches. The place seemed almost magical, as though it existed in a different world, far from the noise and rush of everyday life. Kim Go-eun's eyes widened in surprise, and she couldn't hide the excitement in her smile. "Min-ho, how did you find this place?" she asked, her voice a mixture of awe and curiosity. He only smiled and said, "I knew you'd like it. Tonight is for you." The sincerity in his voice made her heart flutter. There was no hint of performance, no agenda, just a quiet, thoughtful gesture from someone who genuinely cared. They stepped out of the car and walked along a wooden path that led to a small balcony overlooking the river. The water reflected the stars above, making the night feel like a dream. Lanterns swayed gently in the breeze, casting a soft, golden light over everything. Min-ho reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small box. Kim Go-eun tilted her head, curious. "It's nothing fancy," he said, opening it to reveal a delicate charm bracelet. Each charm represented something meaningful between them, moments they had shared, little inside jokes, and memories only they understood. She was speechless, touched beyond words. The thoughtfulness of it, the way he had captured their story in something so simple, made her eyes glisten. "Min-ho, it's beautiful," she whispered. He slipped the bracelet onto her wrist and held her hand for a moment longer, letting the silence speak for itself. And then, he did something even more unexpected. He pulled her gently toward the riverbank, where a small rowboat was waiting. A single lantern hung from its bow, illuminating the water with a gentle, flickering glow. "I thought, maybe we could watch the stars from the river," he said, his voice soft. Kim Go-eun laughed softly, a sound that blended perfectly with the whisper of the night breeze. "Only you would think of something like this," she said. The two of them stepped into the boat, and Min-ho carefully rowed them into the middle of the calm river. The city lights faded behind them, leaving only the reflection of the stars above. The world felt still, almost suspended in time. They didn't speak at first. Words weren't necessary. They simply sat together, shoulders touching, hands intertwined, watching the water ripple gently around them. Then, Min-ho pulled out a small picnic basket. Inside were simple treats, her favorite fruits, chocolate, and 2 glasses of sparkling juice. He had even packed a blanket, spreading it out for them to sit on, so they could enjoy the night comfortably. Kim Go-eun looked at him, genuinely surprised. "You remembered everything," she said softly. "Of course," he replied, smiling. "I just wanted tonight to be perfect." They ate and laughed quietly, sharing stories and teasing each other gently. At one point, she leaned against his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart and the warmth of his presence. It was a moment so intimate and ordinary, yet extraordinary in its sincerity. It reminded her why she had fallen for him, why their connection felt unshakable even amidst the chaos of their busy lives. After the picnic, he took her hands in his again and stood, helping her to her feet. He guided her to the edge of the boat, where the lanterns reflected perfectly in the water. And then, without a word, he kissed her. It wasn't hurried. It wasn't for anyone else to see. It was just for them, a silent promise captured in a single, perfect moment. The stars above, the gentle sway of the boat, the quiet river, they all seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them. When they pulled away, Kim Go-eun rested her forehead against his. "I can't believe you planned all this," she murmured. "You make everything feel like magic," he whispered back. They spent the next hour drifting gently on the river, talking about their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. Min-ho shared little plans he had for them: trips, quiet dinners, and small surprises he wanted to give her over time. She listened, her eyes full of emotion, feeling more connected to him than ever. It was a night that reminded them both of the simple joys of being together, away from cameras, scripts, and the pressures of public life. As the boat finally drifted back to shore, the night felt like it had stretched endlessly, filled with moments neither of them would ever forget. Min-ho helped her out of the boat and wrapped a soft blanket around her shoulders. The cool night breeze carried the scent of flowers from the nearby trees, blending with the warmth of their closeness. For a moment, they just stood there, taking in the serenity of the scene. And then, Min-ho pulled her close once more. "I want every night with you to feel like this," he said softly. Kim Go-eun smiled, her heart full. "Then let's make it happen," she whispered. And in that quiet, perfect moment, neither of them needed anything more than each other. By the time they returned to the inn, the stars were still shining brightly above, as if the universe itself had approved of their evening. The staff, discreet and professional, had prepared a small room overlooking the river, complete with soft candles and a few fresh flowers. It wasn't extravagant, but it was exactly what they needed, a private retreat to end a night that already felt magical. They spent the rest of the evening tea.